way back in the day, dating myself, but the A-Team where they would like, there'd be like bullets flying everywhere and they'd be hiding behind the car door.
Right.
That doesn't work. But it does in a Cybertruck.
Was there ever?
I mean, it's best in apocalyptic technology.
Yeah. Well,
you never know. I mean,
it's an amazing car to have in the apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it still do this thing where the ride height raises?
Yeah.
And so you can, and there's also no regular drivetrain, so there's no axles that
Correct.
are the impediment to going over rocks and things like that.
Yeah, normally in other vehicles, in gasoline or diesel vehicles, you've got the differential, which hangs down low between the rear wheels. So you look under a truck, there's almost always a differential there that's hanging down pretty low. So if you hit the diff on a rock, you'll break it.
Yeah.
But there's no the bottom of the Cybertruck is completely flat, and it has the best clear height of any vehicle.
How far away are we, if it's ever going to happen at all, from having a vehicle that can operate entirely on solar?
Well, you've got a surface area thing. So it's about a kilowatt per square meter, normal to the sun, roughly. So it really depends on what kind of mileage. You can't, you don't have enough surface area to keep the car going just from the car surface area. But if you had something that folded out, you could make it self-sustaining. Something
that folded out, so you could park it and then leave it on.
Yeah, you'd have to unfold like the Starlink satellites do, where you unfold the solar panels. You just need more surface area. You need.
Is there any potential for an advancement in technology that would make a smaller area much better at conducting sun? Nothing.
No, it's a kilowatt per square meter. That's what you're going to get when the sun, if you're normal to the sun, so at 90 degrees to the sun.
And there's nothing that could accelerate that, or no.
That's just literally the solar energy.
That's just it.
Yeah. So then you multiply your efficiency by that. So if you commercial panels maybe 25% efficient if they're a good one, so you get 250 watts per square meter.
There was one car,
roughly 10 feet.
What was it, like a Fisker that was using a solar panel that claimed that it was operating the electronics, it could start the radio.
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely you just don't have enough surface area for it. But but you can certainly you could run a house with solar, with the solar roof, and the Tesla solar roof. You can run a house.
But it's never going to get to a point where you can just have a car that's made out of solar panels that it could drive around. It could never be that efficient.
Correct. So you do not have enough surface area.
What research or what breakthroughs have been made in terms of battery technology? How far away are we from having batteries that are far more efficient and last far longer? 'Cause I know there was some talk of sodium-based batteries.
The battery range is not a problem at this point. I mean, the Model S will go 400 miles. Model 3, Model Y will do over 300 miles. So, that's more than most people need. So, yeah.
Right, but are we? How far away are we from making batteries that are more efficient? This is we obviously haven't at least.
This is not. What I'm saying is this is not really a constraint. At the point at which you've got a car that can do, let's say, even at highway speeds, 250 miles, then, or let's say 240 miles at 80 miles an hour. Now you're driving for 3 hours straight. And so if you start a trip at, say, 9 a.m., by noon you want to stop for lunch, go to the restroom, grab a coffee. By the time you come back, your car is charged.
How long does it take to fully charge?
Yeah, half an hour. Well, you don't want to. The people will get used to it because it's a little different. For a gasoline car, you'd want to fill it up. For an electric car, you'd want to actually go very close to zero, and the car can calculate how much range it has with precision. So if you pull up, say, enter a road trip in a Tesla, it'll calculate all of the supercharges along the way, where you should stop, how much you should charge, and just let the computer do its thing, and it'll work well. So you actually want to charge to about 80%, and then run it down all the way to 10%. I'd say, or less.
Do you want to do that on everyday use as well, or just with long trips?
No, just long trips. If you're trying to minimize the amount of time you stop when charging, so let's say you want to stop for 20, 30 minutes, then you really it's a little counterintuitive because for a gasoline car you would fill it up. For a battery, the charge state tapers off as you get above 80%. You can think of it like I think the right analogy here is cars in a parking lot. So the lithium ions are trying to find a parking space as they move across, from one side of the battery to the other side, from cathode to anode. I mean, they're sort of just these ions are just bouncing around looking for a parking space. So when the parking lot's empty, they can zip right in there and find a spot. It's easy. As the parking lot gets full, just like trying to find a parking space at a mall, you have to hunt around for a spot. And that's basically what's going on, is the ions are looking for a parking spot. So as the battery gets closer to full, it's harder and harder to find a spot. They have to bounce around more.
So it takes longer
Just like
to
a
get
person
from
in a
80
pocket.
to 100.
Correct.
I see.
Getting from 80 to 100, it takes about as much time as getting from 0 to 80.
Oh.
Just think of like the ions got to find a parking spot.
Oh.
And just like if you're in a mall and it's busy, then it takes longer to find a parking spot than if it's empty.
So essentially you're satisfied with the technologies available right now in terms of like the amount of mileage that you get out of it and things along those lines?
Yeah, range is not an issue. Cost is more of an issue. So just need to make the car affordable. A long-range car needs to be affordable.
When you fully roll out, how many Cybertrucks can you guys make a month?
We're aiming to make about 200,000 a year at volume production.
Wow.
Maybe a little more. But I just can't emphasize enough that manufacturing is much, much harder than the initial design. You can... Not that the Cybertruck was easy to design. I'm not trying to trivialize design. It's just what I'm trying to do is to emphasize the difficulty of manufacturing, which is not understood by the public because there's no movie about it. So there's lots of movies about the sort of wild inventor in the garage, but I'm not aware of any movie about manufacturing. Have you ever heard of a movie about manufacturing?
I can't remember any. Jamie, any movie about
There's
manufacturing?
one coming in my brain, but I don't think that's what it's even about, so I have no idea.
What is that?
Michael Keaton was making some cars in somewhere. I was going to look it up.
I mean, there's Tommy Boy.
Yes.
Tommy Boy's the only one.
That's about as
Great
good of a call,
movie.
I think,
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
That might be the only one. That's interesting that it's such an immense part of American culture, and also the decline of some American cities. I mean, it's famously documented in Roger and Me, which is a great documentary where he just talks about how Flint got destroyed when they pulled out the car manufacturing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a reason why generally politicians really try very hard to get a factory in their area is because it's a massive generator of jobs. And for every factory job, there's like roughly five support jobs. So it's like teachers, electricians, plumbers, lawyers, accountants, whatnot, restaurants. So manufacturing is kind of like a nucleus from which many jobs spring. That's why it's generally, governors and prime ministers and presidents will try so hard to get a factory in their country or region.
When you decided to build the Gigafactory, and when you decided, just even when you decided to get involved with Tesla, did you have any idea of how difficult this would be? Did you have a preconceived notion?
I thought it would be very difficult. I thought our probability of success was less than 10%.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it would be foolish to think anything else other than that. I mean, even at this point, the only car companies that have not gone bankrupt are Ford and Tesla, the American car companies. General Motors went bankrupt and Chrysler went bankrupt in 2009. There's some chance they'll go bankrupt again. Ford and Tesla barely made it. It was incredibly difficult to keep Tesla alive when General Motors and Chrysler were going bankrupt. So because manufacturing is the actual hard thing, not that by far the hard thing.
Mm.
I just can't emphasize that enough, and I hope somebody makes a movie about that.